first area which allows students greater opportunity to practice their enterprising skills while learning, I call responsibility, the responsible learner. Sometimes it's called student ownership or the self-managed learner, self-directed learning. I see this as on a continuum between the teacher and the student. When, as I think there is an imbalance, when there is an imbalance towards the teacher being responsible for the learning, making it happen, we see that the student becomes more dependent and more managed. If we see that students are allowed to use more enterprising skills in the way they learn, take initiative, do the problem solving, etc., we see the student becomes more independent and self-managing. I think that the imbalance is there. Before that, I'd like to stress that this is on a continuum. It's a matter of degrees and it's a matter of the purposes and the situation of the learning taking place. But clearly there is an imbalance traditionally towards the teacher. I think that this is historical, that it's around concepts such as the big mind or habits of the big mind or the small mind, filling up, tutoring the small mind, etc. Teachers can often be seen, if not see themselves, but be seen as sort of walking encyclopedias where they impart the knowledge and others soak it up. But I think it's important that students have more responsibility for making the learning happen, because I think human beings have a deep psychological need to control those things which control them. And I think being able to control their own learning motivates them, gives them more responsibility, engages and commits them more to their own learning. And I think that secondly, or thirdly, that being able to self-manage your own learning is an absolute crucial skill for the modern world, for lifelong learning. You won't be able to stop in a workplace anymore for someone to come along and teach you how to do every single thing that you need to learn for a start. There are a number of impediments that stand in the way of young people developing self-managing or responsibility for their own learning. We'll go back to the story about Tom, my son. I remember once we were all in a hurry to get off to school, off to work. It was that dreadful time in life where Tom had to learn to tie his shoes. He was sitting on the edge of the bottom of the stairs, trying very much to get the knots and the bows right. We were all getting very anxious and uptight, and particularly me, realising that I wouldn't get my daughter to the other school, etc. So I went over and said, "Come on, Tom, move out of the way, let me do it." And Tom took a long time to learn how to tie his shoes on his own, because I stepped in, I jumped in, I took responsibility, and in doing so I robbed him of the opportunity. Now, I think that we have this robbing of the opportunities is a part of education. It's one of the problems of education. And we tend to jump in too soon. We expect students to get things right first time. We tend to overhelp, and there is a thing which I call sort of over-teaching, just as you can underteach. We have traditionally fallen into the habit of over-teaching, sometimes trying to do the learning, as is the case with Tom, trying to do the learning for them. Now, why does this happen? I think that we have a fear of letting go, as a more enterprising pedagogy requires you to do. We have a habit. We just tend to do this as a part of our regular workday. And it is our job. It's our job to do the teaching. We see that making it happen entirely is our responsibility. We also have a pressure to succeed, to make the students succeed. And interestingly enough, I think it's a matter of we care. We actually care for the students. We care that they succeed. Unfortunately, a teacher-dominated approach can train or even school students into becoming passive or pro-passive learners. It can also de-enterprise them as individuals. Nevertheless, there are techniques and strategies available which provide students with more opportunity to take responsibility for their own learning to practice their enterprising skills. I've listed 9. I'd like to just make a point about the first 3 of those. The first one is what it's called role sharing. That's at the beginning of the course. The teacher and the students negotiate who will do what in the course. This may result in a position description. Students may be primarily responsible for managing resources, peer tutoring, collecting evidence for their own assessment. While on the other hand, the teacher may be responsible primarily for the scheduling of activities, monitoring progress, and liaising with employers. The other approach is what I call job sharing. That's where sometimes students are given the opportunity to manage or take primary responsibility for areas related to a particular project or maybe a particular unit within the course. They maybe have the opportunity or the responsibility for running meetings. Peer assessment may be their responsibility. Evaluating the teacher may be their responsibility. The last approach is what I call task sharing. That's where on all occasions the teacher asks the students or offers the students the opportunity to take responsibility for all those tasks, daily tasks, which happen in the training room within the learning environment. An example of that may be, today, who demonstrates the use of a particular iPad app? Do I have to do it, or can the students do it, or would they like to do it? Who selects a YouTube video for tomorrow when we're looking at hazards relating to erecting scaffolding? It may be, who will adjudicate today's debate, me or the students? Who will learn the most?